2024 is really the year of AI notebooks. I've already covered one ASUS productivity notebook powered by the Snapdragon X CPU, and now it's AMD's turn. This new ASUS Zenbook S16 is the brand's fancy Ryzen AI device that has been completely redesigned to usher in a new future of tech. There's a lot to enjoy here from a tech point of view. The product includes ASUS's trademark Ceraluminum material, a new AMD Ryzen AI processor, a super thin body at 1.1 centimeters, a 3K 120Hz OLED touchscreen display, and a 6-speaker sound system. But with all that fancy tech, what compromises did ASUS have to make to build an almost impossible device? The new Zenbook S16 does look familiar, but at the same time comes with quite a number of impressive design changes. ASUS says it has been completely redesigned, and from the moment I had it in my hands, I felt the difference. The S16 is impressively lightweight. It is only 1.5 kilograms, and at its thickest point it is 1.1 centimeters. The unit is a 16-inch notebook, so it comes in a 35 cm by 24 cm. The device is made from what ASUS says is Ceraluminum. The company claims it is a combination of aluminium and ceramic. The result is a sturdy shell with a matte finish. The material also contributes to the device's light design and provides enough heat dissipation to keep it cool too. The top lid features the ASUS Zenbook diagonal pattern logo, and the bottom includes a few rubber pads for grip. From a build point of view, the entire notebook feels incredibly sturdy. Even the lid doesn't wobble much when typing, and the base stays in place. When closed, the thin design factor is out of this world. To hold the device in your hand even between two fingers and have it so incredibly thin honestly feels like a device straight out of the future. The unit houses most of the ports that you'll look for in a modern day notebook, except for an Ethernet port. But given how thin the device is, it isn't possible. To use Ethernet, you'll have to use the USB Type-A adapter that's included in the box. On the right hand side of the notebook, you'll find the SD card reader and the USB-A 3.2 Gen 2 port. On the other side, there's an HDMI 2.1 port alongside two Thunderbolt 4 ports. One of these ports will be used for charging the device using the 65-watt adapter included in the box. Both ports support power delivery, so you can swap between the two. Lastly, there's also a 3.5mm audio jack. ASUS has pretty much built the Zenbook S16 with every criticism and complaint in mind. Every user and scenario has been taken into consideration when designing this device. ASUS also impressed me from the inside too. The keyboard's chiclet design is wide and spacious. The keyboard also includes the Copilot AI button and full LED backlighting. The LED lights are also very bright, and even in bright light, they're clear to see. The trackpad is another standout for me. The massive trackpad is 15 cm by 10 cm wide, and it feels so smooth to use. Everything from gestures, swipes, and clicks felt amazing on this pad. If you have ever used the MacBook Pro touchpad, this is on par now. It makes getting around Windows 11 an absolute breeze. We then have the OLED screen, which is another standout feature on the Zenbook S16. The panel is so beautifully bright and big. It takes up the majority of the lid space, only leaving thin bezels around the display. The advertised screen brightness for this display is 400 nits in SDR and 500 nits in HDR. The OLED tech also delivers punchy colors that look highly saturated. To add, the display is also touchscreen with full support for the ASUS Pen. ASUS promises 400 nits, but I measured slightly lower at 380. It isn't the end of the world here because it's still quite bright. The panel also has been highly calibrated to almost perfection, with 100% sRGB and DCI-P3 color gamuts. It features 95% Adobe RGB, which is also quite good. Thanks to the resolution of 2880 by 1800, everything I did on the display looked crisp and clear. The higher resolution also meant that consuming content was more enjoyable, and working on Windows meant I had more space to place all those windows and tabs. Speaking of consuming content, the Zenbook's S16 speaker system is also quite a standout for me. Sound is delivered clear while at the same time features quite a powerful kick that you don't often find in a notebook. It will make all those Zoom calls sound good while at the same time background music and movie watching are thoroughly enjoyable too. Lastly, it comes with a 1080p webcam. I never thought I would see the day. I have been complaining about 720p webcams in notebooks for years now, and we finally have reached this milestone. Praise be to the tech gods. Overall, I have no complaints about the design of the Zenbook S16. Believe it or not, I don't think ASUS has designed something so close to perfection in the past. It simply delivers everything you'll look for in a notebook. The thin form factor is just an added benefit at this rate. Before I get into the benchmarks for this device, I should mention the specs and upgradability. The Zenbook S16 comes with a 2TB 2280 SSD with no empty socket to add another storage option. It also comes with 32GB of LPDDR5 RAM soldered onto the motherboard. So again, there's no way to increase that. However, those two components are more than enough for what this device offers. From a CPU perspective, the unit includes a Ryzen AI 9 HX 370 chip. It has a base clock of 2 GHz and a boost clock of 5.1 GHz. The chip has a max TDP of 54 watts and runs as low as 15 watts when idle. Benchmarking the chip, I can say that the AMD Ryzen AI 9 370 shows quite a lot of promise. In various scenarios, this chip beats the Intel Ultra 7, and in others it does struggle. In single-core performance on Geekbench 6, it also beat the Snapdragon X Elite, so it shows higher performance across AI tasks than the Qualcomm chip. I tested both AI and performance in a range of benchmarks. Here are some of the results from the tests I ran. I also ran some 3D tests to see where this notebook sat. While you likely won't do much gaming on this device, it can actually run games under certain conditions, believe it or not. The Zenbook S16 showed promise in both TimeSpy and Steel Nomad tests. I also ran Cyberpunk 2077 because why the hell not? Overall, the AMD Ryzen AI HX 370 is a capable chip. Tests showed it can manage 3D workloads, AI, and day-to-day activities. It does get warmer than, say, the Snapdragon X Elite, which means you'll hear the fans on this notebook. I barely heard them when using the VivoBook S, for example. But the fan noise isn't as bad as notebooks have been, and it could actually be a lot worse, if it had an Intel chip in it, of course. Lastly, the battery life on this device was quite decent. The 70 watt per hour battery cell can last well into the 14-hour mark at 50% brightness. It charges pretty fast and does last a long time. I think you'll be able to leave your charger at home with this notebook. So the ASUS Zenbook S16 does fall short in some performance tests, but that doesn't make the unit incapable of delivering performance. This is a great productivity notebook with a good battery and an incredible design. It really does speak volumes for ASUS when it comes to the brand's ambitions and where it wants to move forward in the tech space. I don't know where the Zenbook range will go from here. This product is on the cusp of perfection. Sure, the processor does struggle in some tasks, but as a package, this is one of the best notebooks I've reviewed to date. So those are my thoughts on the ASUS Zenbook S16. Are you looking to pick one up? Let me know in the comments down below. I'll also leave a link in the description below so you can find out more about the notebook and even pick it up locally. While you're here, also please consider liking and subscribing for more future tech and gaming reviews. Until next time, farewell.